Strength isn't just about lifting heavier weights, it's about building a body that performs, adapts, and lasts for decades. Welcome to the Axis Method, a Strength Axis production. I'm your host, John Parker, certified strength and conditioning specialist, strong first elite, beast tamer, and functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner. I've been a private strength coach for over 17 years here in San Diego, California, and I've dedicated my life to the pursuit and mastery of strength and conditioning. My approach has always been functional and sustainable, combining intelligent training, lifestyle practices, and recovery strategies to help people build real strength and long-term health. This podcast is where we explore the science, philosophy, and practice of strength, from barbell training and kettlebells to variable resistance, metabolic health, and the deeper principles that drive performance and longevity. This podcast is proudly sponsored by Harambe System. Harambe System is a compact variable resistance training platform built around two core pieces of engineering. The CyberPlate, a stainless steel base with 12 precision rollers, and a patented pulley and sling system that spins smoothly and opens wide for easy loading of stacked bands. Together, they are designed to bridge the gap between bands and weights, combining the joint-friendly feel of bands with smoother, more consistent loading. And it works. Users are pulling 400-plus pound deadlifts, benching over 225 pounds, and back squatting over 300 pounds, training exclusively with this system. Most band platforms use static edges that create friction, wear out your bands, and reduce tension at the bottom of the lift. The CyberPlate addresses that by routing the band across spinning rollers instead of fixed edges, helping deliver more consistent resistance from the first rep to the last. And research has also shown that full range of motion under real tension is what drives muscle growth. And a 2025 study confirmed that as long as tension is present through the full range, muscles grow regardless of where peak resistance falls. That is the principle the system is engineered around. Learn more at harambesystem.com/John Parker Ballistic. Now, for me personally, Harambe System has become the foundation of my strength training over the past 2 years. What started as a simple experiment, and I was testing whether variable resistance really lived up to the hype, quickly turned into a full-blown fascination. I discovered that I could build muscle, maintain strength, and develop power while experiencing far less joint irritation than I had during years of heavy barbell and kettlebell training. The velocity-friendly resistance curve allows me to move explosively, train frequently, and stay pain-free, which is essential if strength is something you want to pursue for a lifetime. So if you're interested in building real strength, protecting your body, and applying intelligent training principles, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Axis Method. All right, welcome everyone. Today I'm joined by Khalid Bou-Rabee, founder of Harambe System, one of the most innovative approaches to variable resistance training. And this episode, we're going to break down his origin story, the evolution of Harambe System, programming and minimalism, Harambe.fit, which is the new training app that we are all on and having a great time with that, and the future of strength training. So Khalid, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, John. It's great to actually finally chat to you face to
Yeah,
face.
yeah, of course.
Had this
Just for the
virtual
audio.
relationship. It's really
That's how it is
great.
these days. It's so funny though, because on social media, you end up making these friends because you have similar interests in whatever it is that you're doing. In our case, it's Harambe System and fitness and some of the other stuff. And sometimes you never even meet them in real life, but you have this relationship. And I think it's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely very grateful that we've met. I've learned a lot from you watching your videos and just any messages you send. Oh, I can tell, decades of experience behind them all. So
Oh, well,
well, I
I
was
appreciate
grateful.
that. It's been really fun to kind of see Harambe System from the beginning because I was on the fence about it, like I know some other people were. And then once I started with my cyber bundle, it was just off to the races. And I kind of thought originally, okay, I'll try this for a few months. And at this point, it's been about 2 years that's been my main source of training. And it's just really interesting with variable resistance and then using the top of the line product Harambe System. It's like each separate training session, I learn something new and I want to try something new and see how it interacts with my body. But it's very cool because it doesn't beat me up like some of my old lifting would do. And I've seen a lot of people in our community love it for that reason because it's so smooth that you can train more frequently without all the nicks that you can get from traditional free weights.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
I'm
so that's
honored.
that's my plug for Harambe System. All right, brother, let's get into this. I want to know what first got you into training.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I guess there's multiple layers to this. Like, when did I first I feel like I've sort of been interested in fitness much like everyone else my whole life because it really affects things like your quality of life and also how people perceive you, interestingly. When I was a kid, I was a fat kid, so I got, comments for being fat, and I remember once I was trying to, like, keep up with one of my friends, like, running around the block, and I just couldn't do it, and my friend was just like, "You're way too fat. That's why you can't do it. It's because 'cause you're too fat." And I was like, "Oh, I need to not be fat." And I had no idea how to do that. Like, I just had no clue. I was just like, "I just need to not be fat," and, I remember, like, seeing these, like, fat-free candies and being like, "I need to eat this. This will get rid of my fat," having no idea what I was doing.
Oh
But
gosh, I did not know
yeah.
that because looking at you now, it doesn't seem like you've ever held a lot of body fat.
Yeah, it's funny, I mean, I don't know how that varies between individuals because I just don't have that much data, but, yeah, I mean, I've definitely been quite fat in my life, and I've been lucky my skin sort of s tightened up from being fat pretty well. No clue why. But, that's like sort of my whole life I've sort of been interested in fitness, but I think I really started becoming passionate about it because I don't know, maybe your viewers don't know this, but I'm a mathematician trained. I was a math professor before I founded Harambe System, and I spent a lot of time studying math and not doing fitness, like my whole life, basically. But it was about now 9 years ago when my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. She's in remission now, so it's all good. But I remember at the time I was getting my PhD in mathematics, and my mom had this, and she was alone in America. And I basically just dropped everything and went to the hospital she was at and became her caretaker. And I just sort of changed my whole life. It was no question for me. I was very lucky. I got support from my advisor. I pretty much finished my most of my PhD by then, so it wasn't like I had that much to do, but I did get a lot of support. My advisor was very supportive, even though I didn't really give him much of a choice. I just dropped it. I was like, I'm going. My mom needs help. So, and I took care of her. And that was like where I started to a lot about fitness because her doctors were saying that one thing that she could do that would help her outcome the most was to stay active and to exercise. And I went to every class with her. So I learned a lot about fitness at that time. I still didn't learn that much. I still didn't know that much, but I at least like started to actively move and actually exercise as opposed to just doing random things that I thought were good for me, like eating fat-free candies.
Yeah, common mistake. So it's interesting. I'm really happy to hear about your mother. It's a terrible thing to have to go through, but the remission is a good sign that everything's going well. Now, when your mother was trying to get more active, was it something like you went to a gym to go to exercise classes or yoga, or what was that introduction like?
Yoga. It was a lot of yoga, a lot of stretching, no weightlifting because my mom wasn't interested in that. Honestly, we didn't even know that that would be that good for her. I mean, in retrospect, weightlifting would have been great for her because there's just so many benefits to resistance training. I just didn't know.
Mhm,
But we just enrolled in Pilates and yoga classes
mhm.
together, and I just did the workouts with her to encourage her to go. That was yeah. It's kind of funny. She had stage 3 breast cancer. It didn't look good. I remember but she made it, which is great.
Okay. Well, thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that. That's an amazing way to get into fitness. And watching you online, I've probably watched you online for about 3 years, and you've shown some of your personal transformation. And it's interesting because maybe it's an N of one, and it's really tough to know what does what with someone's body unless you track a child from birth and put them on a resistance training track. But as far as I
Sure.
know, you have completely transformed your body using variable resistance training and these methodologies. And you went from, I don't think when I've seen you, you've never been fat, but you were under muscled at a certain point and then got to a point where you're very lean, you have very athletic looking muscle. What did it look like from you going from the yoga classes and Pilates more toward an interest in strength training and then jumping into variable resistance training?
It's a long story I mean, a lot happened that was grad school, and then between that time and over the next 4 years, I became a tenured mathematics professor, which, for people not in academia, going from having your PhD to eventually becoming a tenured math professor is a roller coaster. There's just a lot that happens between those 2 time periods, which I won't get into all those details, but basically, I had a lot on my plate, so I didn't have that much time to really think about fitness. I rock climbed recreationally with friends during that time. I remember because I was thinking I should be more active, and so I'd rock climb. I dabbled in CrossFit for like 4 months or so. It's funny because I did CrossFit for 4 to 6 months, but it wasn't what you'd think was. The CrossFit back then was really kind of funny. It was in its early years where there was just a workout that's posted on a website, and it had all this theory onto why CrossFit was the best way to work out, and I totally bought it all. I was like, oh. So this is sort of my curse, is that I kept as an ignorant consumer with not that much time. I was an ignorant consumer with not that much time to learn about fitness. I would read these compelling stories by people that seem like they know what they're talking about, and I would totally fall for it. So, I mean, this is part of why I formed Harambe System, was because, I mean, and honesty is one of our core values, is that, I want to help educate people, not just trick people into buying a product, which is like, which seems to be a prevalent pattern.
So CrossFit is great in that it has a huge variety of exercises that are taught. I think the problem that's always been with CrossFit is that you do these things in almost a racing fashion. So instead of performing quality over quantity, you're just performing a lot of quantity because you're racing. And that's where I think some of these injuries come in. So is it the best way to train? I don't think so, but there are good elements of it. So was that where you learned how to do basic lifting exercises?
I did learn how to do, I mean, at least they tried to teach me how to do like some Olympic lifting. But I was kind of terrible at it. Um, but I did learn how to clean. I could clean, like, I remember could clean like 135 pounds some point. So, I did that. So I learned that. I remember I learned how to clean because I didn't know how to. So I was following. So back then they had this thing where there was a website and you followed exercises. And I was like, I want to do this because this is the way to go. And it has every day they would post these workouts and they're named after people, I guess like Murphy or something. And you
Yeah.
you just like kill yourself to do that exercise, and you'd see how other people do. So I would get the exercise and be like, I have to do this. So I'd buy all the equipment. I bought like a barbell. I bought like 20. I started off with like these like 5 pound, they weren't even bumpers. I just bought like these 5 pound things. I had a
Uh,
barbell and a 5 pound thing. And I would try to do the workout, and I would do it and I'd be like, yeah, I'd stick to it for like 2 weeks and then I would hurt myself because I
it
had no
sounds
idea
about
what I was
right.
doing. It was awful. I'd like really hurt myself. And then, after like 2 months of this, I was like, I need to have some sort of training because I'm hurting myself over and over again. So I went to I tried to get someone at a box. I guess I would call it a CrossFit box. It's basically a gym. And I went there and I was like, can you just show me how I'm supposed to do this? Because I don't know how to do this. So I went there for like 2 weeks and they kind of showed me how to do a deadlift. They were like, yeah, you shouldn't be rounding your back. I was like, oh, okay. I shouldn't be. Because like literally no experience. Like I don't even see, back then the internet wasn't really that, it was different back then. It was like harder to get instruction back then. So I just had no idea what I was doing. I was like, just lift the weight up. I just didn't. So they were telling me things like keep your back straight and stuff. And that actually helped some. And then, I kept doing it for a while, but I remember like there was also ones where you had to do like pull-ups and things. So I got myself a pull-up bar and I tried doing that. And I remember like hurting my left shoulder so badly. I had to stop because there was this thing where you like swing yourself. I just wasn't ready for that.
Yeah, the
It's
butterfly
funny
pull
because
up.
is that, yeah, they were like, you're supposed to like swing yourself up instead of like kipping. It was this kipping thing where you're
Yeah,
like
it's like a
kipping.
momentum pull up. Yes.
Yeah, I like really hurt my shoulder doing that. But I kept to it. So, I did it for like 6 months or so, and I really tried. And it's funny because earlier I posted, I have like so what I felt was my peak CrossFit fitness. I have like these pictures of me when I was at peak CrossFit fitness, and I was like 168 pounds. And I was like kind of crazy. But then you like compare to um, about 2 years into actual resistance training, which I happen to use Harambe System, but I mean, I'm not going to lie and say Harambe System. You could do this with weights too. I think like if I just did hypertrophy like training for 2 years, I would probably get the same results. So I did 2 years of resistance training, and I'm like 180 pounds and about the same fat as I was when I was like 168. I mean, I
Interesting.
looked pretty good. Like when I was doing CrossFit, my abs were showing, but like I was significantly bigger at like 100, 80 pounds versus,
Mhm.
actually fall. Also, I mean, it's not just that, like, I don't want to just say CrossFit's bad or anything, but like, it wasn't just that. Like, I had no idea what I was doing with diet. Like, and I was, it's just, and when you're like throwing weights around, it's, yeah, as you know, it's like if you don't know what you're doing, it's very easy to hurt yourself. Whereas resistance bands like are way more forgiving when with momentum and stuff. because they don't have shock loading. So if you're holding like 100 pounds on your back and you just do this, it's like you're going to feel a lot more than 100 pounds just from that jerk, just because you have
Hmm.
to control the weight. With resistance bands, it never happens. You have 100 pounds of resistance bands, you do this, it's still 100. It's
Hmm.
always going to be 100. You're not going to get more from the band by moving. So you don't get that
Interesting.
surprise, shock loading on your body. I mean, that's where all of my injuries, like I blame all my CrossFit injuries on like that I used, bad form and I was jerking around because I didn't know what I was doing. In an ideal world, I think if you do all the exercises perfectly, you're probably going to be okay.
Yeah. Okay. Understood. Very interesting. And I had not thought about that as an advantage to Harambe system and variable resistance with kind of the weight maybe being off kilter and then affecting the lower back or another muscle group or joint, because that is something that happens a lot. What I've loved about variable resistance is you are loading your strongest range of motion in every exercise. And the internet goes wild about this. Oh, you're not training in stress position. You're not getting any muscle, whatever. And it's really interesting because I've seen it's gotten so popular now to use bands for exercise that, and I know I've been doing it for 2 years and I'm extremely pleased with the way my body looks. So I know I've gained some quality muscle, especially my arms. It's felt really good. But, that 2025 study that you have mentioned, I can't remember, I think it was done somewhere in England where they're talking about the peak loading as long as it's present within the range of motion. That's a mechanism for hypertrophy of the muscle. And I think the internet goes crazy because they want to prove definitively this is the way, this is my tribe, and this is the way, and everyone else is wrong. But I believe we still don't know the exact mechanism of hypertrophy because a lot of things work for building muscle. So just to add that, but I like the CrossFit stuff because it is a valuable way that you can learn exercises. But I want to know, when did you drop the barbell and bumper plates and then pick up a rubber band instead?
Oh, I mean, I stopped CrossFit a long time ago. I only, because that was, I think I don't remember exactly, but I was like in my 20s, I think, when I did CrossFit. Or 30s or something? I can't remember. This is I just can't remember. It was a long time ago, and,
Hmm.
it was like a brief thing. It's like, I was into CrossFit, I was into yoga, and I was, like, taking care of my mom. When was, but yeah, I dropped that, back then. It was like I tried to I say 6 months because I was injured most of the time, but I stuck to it for, like, a year, but I spent a lot of the time just hurt. So, but I dropped that a long time ago. There was I don't remember the precise timeline, but I think there's maybe, like, 10 years between picking up Harambe and when I was using the barbell doing CrossFit. And when I was doing CrossFit, I mean, I never did anything over, like, 100, like, over 200 pounds. There was just no, I mean, occasionally, I remember once I went into a box and they had these, like, barbells on the ground, and they had them laid out so that every barbell had, I guess, because like, it was a competition and you had to, like, try to lift things, and I was like, "Oh, I thought I was strong for some reason, and I was looking at the 225 being like, "Oh, I've been doing CrossFit for 4 months, I should be able to lift this." And I go up to the 225 and I try to pick it up, and I hear this snap in my left knee, and I, like, couldn't walk for, like, 2 weeks. I had no
Oh
idea what
no,
happened.
gosh.
I tried to lift it, I just couldn't do it. I don't know. It, like, really hurt. It's funny now because so I struggled with very low force back then, and going back to Harambe, I remember, and this is a story actually I haven't said anywhere because it's kind of an embarrassing story, but
Okay.
I'll admit it. So, there was a thing where people were telling me, because when I first started, I got a lot of hate when I first started. I guess because I didn't look like I worked out. I look like I work out a bit more now than when I first started. But when I first started, I definitely didn't look like I worked out. And I'm like a science nut. So I, like, learned all this fitness science, and I would try to talk about stuff along with people that were, like, way fitter than me. And the people were always just like, why are we taking any advice from someone that looks like noodles, which is, fair complaint. I didn't look like I worked out, but, and honestly, I didn't know what I was talking about. But people would challenge me and I'd be like, I would look at the force ratings that I got. Cause back then, the first year of training, I didn't use Harambe my first year of training. It's like first year. I used competing equipment and stuff that I found online. I broke some of it, but I had this competing equipment. And I would look at the competing equipment, and I remember this was, I think it's the first 8 months of training or something. I looked at the force ratings on the bands from this manufacturer, and they would list. And I looked at what I was lifting, and it was saying I was lifting like 450 pounds. And I was like, oh, great. And I wrote them, and I'd be like, I remember posting on this group that I can lift 405 pounds with weights. I'm sure of it because it says in this thing. And I made the claim. Actually, it was bad. I was more misleading than that. I said that I could lift 405 pounds. Like I just said I could do it with like no evidence or anything. It's definitely. I mean, I would say it's a lie. I'm sorry. Like it was. I was just. It was one of those things where like I was so angry because people were telling me. I don't know. It was wrong. It was the wrong thing to do. It's definitely like a mistake. I shouldn't have done it. And I'm very embarrassed about it. Actually, like it did happen. But I said 405 pounds, and I wrote it. It was on an ad that I was running. Actually, that I wrote this. It wasn't an ad. It was an ad, actually, yeah. So it was, uh, at this point, Harambe System did not come out with bands, so I was using other bands. And then I listed the force because Harambe System sort of developed over time. It was first a bar, then it was platform, then it was bands. Like everything sort of gradually built up. And so I said this stat, and then someone actually called me out on it on a post. Like they made this big post, like Khalid claims he can lift 405 pounds. He should post a video of this in the next week. Otherwise, he's a liar. He claims to be honest and all this stuff. And I was like, oh no, I have to go lift 405 pounds. The thing is, like, I've never actually like even touched 405 pounds on a barbell, in my life. So I remember telling my friends, I have these two guy friends, John and Chris. I was like, I have to go lift 405 pounds. Two of them I can do it. And I remember them telling me, it's not a big deal. People like say things sometimes, they don't mean it. It's not, and I was like, I can do this because like it says I can do this. So I went to a gym. I forget what it's like Crunch or something. And I set up a camera. I loaded up 405 pounds and I tried to lift it and I couldn't even budge it. It was like, I couldn't believe it. It was like pushing against a wall. I don't know. It was just unbelievably heavy. And I put it on the floor and tried to lift it and I couldn't do it. And then I even was like, oh, maybe it's because bands are only heavy in the top range. And like, so when the manufacturer says 400 pounds, they mean in the top range. So I actually put the barbell on a rack. Like, I forget what you call it when it's lifted up, but I put it up high and I put the 400 pounds on it and I tried to lift it when it was up high,
Oh, okay.
around my
Like
knee level,
a
a
rack
rack
pull
pull.
is, yep.
Yeah. I tried to do a rack pull and I couldn't budge it. I was like, it was so embarrassing. I remember seeing this and being like, wow, this was really bad. But I was like, I have to do the right thing. I just fessed up. I made a post and I was like, I can't do it. I'm really sorry. I shouldn't have said that. It was a heat of the moment thing. I was being trolled. It's not an excuse, but I'm really sorry. It was like
Mhm.
early on when I was still learning how to present myself out there. I don't know. That's the thing I did. But yeah, I couldn't even lift it. It was unbelievable. But then going from there to eventually coming out with the CyberPlate and our own bands, like that shaped how I made stuff because I wanted to make sure the bottom tension was good, that reps were consistent throughout sets so that you actually build consistent strength. There were all these problems with what I was using at the time, even if the band, that just weren't allowing me to actually build muscle and strength. But then with the CyberPlate and everything, actually, once I developed the CyberPlate, it was within 8 months. I went into a gym and I lifted over 400 pounds. So it was sort of, for me, it's like such an amazing journey because like I went from, but a little embarrassing at the beginning. I mean, very embarrassing at the beginning, but, but it's like, yeah, I messed up, but I was honest about it. I didn't have to. I could have lied. I could have lied about it and said, oh, I can do 405, never say anything. But I decided, I mean, that's just not the kind of person I want to be. I make mistakes and I admit them and try to move past them.
Hey, nothing wrong with making mistakes, but I have legit seen you deadlift 405 pounds. Very impressive compared to you not being able to do it before. And I love the video, I guess the marketing video with your brother. The one with your brother is my favorite, where you're kind of introducing, hey, we're going to have this competition. Your brother's kind of like, wait, what? And his eyes are all shifty, and then you out deadlift him. That's one of my favorites to watch. So I just saw that again today. And I think you hit 365 for like 3 or 4 reps on that video, which is also very respectable.
Yeah, double overhand, so no straps.
Oh, that's right. It was double overhand. So
Just want to say,
even tougher. Yeah, with wraps, it's easier. Mixed grip, it's easier, but double overhand is rough. Well, I want to move on quickly. So you answered a lot of my initial questions, and we kind of talked a bit about the beginning of Harambe System, but I remember the death of Harambe the gorilla, and I'm wondering if Harambe System was named in honor of Harambe, rest in peace.
So when I was first starting the company, all I had was the bar, which the bar with the slings, that was my contribution to band land. And at first I was just making equipment that I was sending to my friends, but then in the Facebook groups, other people wanted them. And at that point, I was told that I should form a company for liability reasons. And so for a company, I needed a name. So I was talking to my friends about it, and one of my friends just jokingly was like, "Oh, if you call it Harambe's, that would be amazing." Like after the gorilla. I didn't even I didn't even know about the meme, honestly. Like I just sort of
Yeah.
heard about it once, but just didn't know about it. And I didn't take his suggestion seriously at all. I just thought it was funny, because Harambe, the gorilla, I mean, he's a big gorilla.
Yeah, huge, huge gorilla.
There's like this one of the top 10 memes of all time or something.
Mhm.
But then I remember I was talking to my father-in-law. It was maybe a couple days later, and I was telling him, "Isn't it so funny that my friend was like, I should call it Harambe?" Because I was honestly having a really hard time coming up with a name. And he brought out his phone and he looked up the word Harambe, and he paused and he goes, "Khalid, do you know what this word means in Swahili?" And I was like, "No." He's like, "It means pull together, care for one another." And that's actually a really nice meaning.
That's beautiful. I had no idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know either. And when he said that, I was like, wow, that's awesome. Because fitness is, and it sort of encompassed a lot of my story with fitness, that I meet up with these people online, we joke around, but so at the surface, it seems like we're not doing anything serious because we're just sort of, working out together, having fun, trying to do things physically with our bodies and build our bodies up and stuff. But then there's this sort of deep thing that's happening where all these people from totally different walks of life all across the world who never otherwise have anything to do with each other come together and meet each other. And for me, that was a big deal because I was mostly just in academic circles. Like I just knew other mathematicians, and fitness was a way for me to meet people that were very different from me. And it was very eye opening. Yeah. So, I mean, like the word just encompassed all of that. And yeah, I love that meaning, and it sort of shapes, like the app Harambe.fit has a social component to it, and that social component's really important to me. That people connect to each other through workouts. You don't have to come up with like some sort of post that goes viral. I mean, if you do a workout, everyone sees your workout. People see your comments, how you're doing. They see that you're making progress, and that's yeah, that's what Harambe is.
I love that, man, and especially with when I came into the Facebook group with Harambe System, I absolutely loved it because to me, it's like a positive social media where you see all this stuff online. Sometimes it bums you out, but everyone in our group is they're there for the same reason, and you build a lot of camaraderie with people. And we'll talk about Harambe Fit here in a second, but just quick question on Harambe System, you spoke about the naming of the product, which I love. I was a big fan of the meme and obviously the story of Harambe. Did you have any issues that you'd like to share when you decided that you were going to form a company around this bar and the sling system? And how did it look when you went from, okay, I have a bar with a sling system, your contribution of variable resistance, what were kind of the steps that you want to share about, okay, now I need bands. Now I need to graduate from the original foot plate, which I believe was like a polymer. I can't remember the name of the plastic. And then finally upgrade to the CyberPlate. Did you have any steps that you had to work out mentally, or was it just a natural progression for you?
At every moment, it was, because I train with the equipment myself, and I view myself as because I don't have that, I don't have structured weightlifting, like bodybuilding in my background. So in a sense, I mean, of course, I have these things I've dabbled in the past that, albeit unsuccessfully. But for the most part, I'm almost a blank slate with a bunch of injuries and coming to Harambe System. So I'm sort of like the typical example of someone that has very little resistance training background and then starts using Harambe System, and like where can they go? And my results, in a sense, not only help sell the equipment, but they also prove to me that I'm doing the right thing by selling this equipment. I don't want to sell equipment that I think doesn't work. I would not be able to sleep at night with that. That's like for me, it's not just about making money. I want to help people get strong and healthy. So each change with the equipment was a matter of what I have isn't working for some reason. The previous platforms were made out of ultra high molecular weighted polyethylene, which is a fantastic plastic when it comes to solid boards. The issue with them was that the bands themselves would rub on them, which can cause the lifts to feel uneven, can cause the first reps because of the friction you pull through to be heavier than the other reps. There was a way to circumvent this by putting a lubrication directly on your bands. Then the bands would slide against it, but then you still have rubbing, so you still get wear over time, which is a problem. And then you're also having to lubricate your bands, and then you're lubricating your bands. They dry out, and as they dry out, the resistance you feel from them changes. So there's this inconsistency, which hurts progressive overload training. Which I personally think progressive overload training is what I was really missing with CrossFit, and why I didn't get great results with CrossFit. Aside from the being injured, there was no clear like progression that's like easy to follow. At least I didn't see it. I think with the right training, you could probably get the right progression. I mean, especially with calisthenics too, like there's a skill component you can build with the right training, but I'm just doing things on my own. And just like going a little heavier on resistance, just sort of mentally easier for me than learning some sort of progression. I wanted to be, in some sense, a one-stop shop. Like if you wanted barbell training with resistance bands, I wanted to have a complete suite. I didn't want you to have to go somewhere else and buy a platform elsewhere, to buy bands elsewhere. I also couldn't personally vet sort of the manufacturing the way I could unless I controlled it for the certain products. So I wanted to have more of a hand in the manufacturing as opposed to just pointing people elsewhere. But, one of our core things is innovation. So I'm less inclined to just release something that everyone else makes. Like if you can get, for instance, like I use lifting straps, like when I do deadlifts to help focus the legs, take grip out of the equation. And I, I don't see myself ever making straps, selling straps, unless, I really put work into it and feel like I can really contribute and make straps that are better than any other straps out there. But otherwise, that takes a lot of investment of time and resources. And so I try not to put things, on the store unless I have like some significant contribution in how I make things. So that's a part of it. With the bar itself, I wasn't, when I first made the bar, it was because I wasn't satisfied with any of the bars that were out there. So I made that bar. When I was made a platform, I wasn't satisfied with other platforms. Made my own platform. I wasn't satisfied even with my own platform, so I made it even better with the CyberPlate. And now I'm, very happy with the CyberPlate and where it's at. I feel like anything could be improved, but there's sort of been an evolution over years, the CyberPlate. And the bands too. They're not bands. You can't buy bands like this anywhere else. It's funny. People look at our bands and they go, "Oh, they're just thicker and they're shorter." But there's actually a lot more to making resistance bands than just the thickness and the length, which I didn't know until I started working on this. But how you cure and what process you use to put the bands together really make the resistance profiles different. And one of the things people comment when they try Harambe System bands is they say they're very stiff. They're just like, they're really heavy, like right from the start, like the same band, like it just feels really heavy and it's hard to stretch. And I was like, that's by design. It's because the, I want there to be good resistance right at the start. That's why I was able to lift 405 pounds, because I used these bands. So I really do feel like I contributed something with the resistance bands, not
Yeah.
just selling.
I'll say with those 38-inch bands, if you go from a 41-inch band, however high quality it may be, they are definitely stiffer and more challenging. But I think that's a good thing. I think it's actually a sweet spot compared to the 41-inch bands, which are very long for some people, maybe if you're under 5'10" So I've actually very much enjoyed the 38-inch bands. And it's funny to me when people talk trash about any of this variable resistance stuff. I just bet that 95% of people could not deadlift the Blue Kong. It is extremely challenging. To me, that feels like anywhere between a 400 and 450-pound lockout if you were performing a barbell deadlift. And there's no joking that. It is very challenging. It takes a lot of guts to do that stuff. And I've been impressed with my strength gains and strength maintenance from using your bands specifically. I will say though, I own two of the travel plates and I love my travel plates and I still use those in addition to my cyber plates because I have four total plates and I can do really big giant sets. So I do enjoy those, but I found it interesting that you were talking about like putting some oil on the bands so they have a little bit less friction. And One exercise that I love, but I don't know if it loves me, is the standing chest press. I love the standing chest press because it's a very unique exercise that you do for the pecs, the shoulders, the triceps in space instead of having a brace like a bench press. But my only issue is sometimes it rubs my shoulders a little bit raw. So I've thought, should I put some oil onto my shoulders before I do this? But I figured out that if I just position it a little bit better and don't go to full lockout, I don't get that same rubbing. So that's very interesting. I did not know that about oiling the bands and then the concerns, which is why you switched over to the rollers.
Yeah, be careful. There's a lot of oils that will just like disintegrate latex. So if you ever do want to try that, like olive oil is definitely out of the question.
Okay.
That will, yeah.
No, I would buy
Or
the
any
oil
sort of
that you
mineral
have.
oil. Oh, yeah,
Mineral,
we don't sell it anymore because we did sell it when we didn't have rollers on the platform. So
got it.
it helped, but we don't sell them anymore because now with the CyberPlate, you don't need that.
Well, if you solve the problem, there's no need for it. So that sounds good. And Colin, if you're down, I want to talk about kind of this evolution of you as a lifter. We can keep this stuff pretty short, but you and I have spoken offline on Instagram about some of our experimentation, and I'm really into a minimalist style workouts. They just fit really well with me, make sure I don't go overboard in my training. And I know you're busy with the company, with family obligations, and it's just a busy time in our lives. And I know you've experimented with kind of like a light, medium, heavy day, maybe some higher volume stuff. And then last we spoke about your programming, you were into more of like a minimalist structure. So, what does your current training program look like? And tell us, are you enjoying that style of training or do you see it changing anytime soon?
Oh, I really like it. So maybe viewers don't know this, but I competed in a bodybuilding show and I did a high volume bodybuilding workout for months before the bodybuilding show. And I did okay in the show. And, I'm happy with what I brought on stage. With the high volume, I think I could have done better if I didn't do as much volume. I think that I was overtrained for a lot of it. I was very much encouraged by your results and your training, seeing because we met right around the time when I decided I wasn't going to be doing such high volume anymore. Because I didn't do when I first started Harambe, and actually my first like really ripped pictures were doing volume that's kind of similar to what I do right now. It wasn't really high volume, which a lot of bodybuilders. I remember going because I went to the Arnold a couple times. We showcased Harambe equipment at the Arnold at a booth twice, and I talked to a lot of bodybuilders. And high volume training is very very popular amongst bodybuilders. Bodybuilders are athletes. They if they can do something, if they can work 3 times harder to get that extra 4%, it's worth it to them because they're competing and that 3-4% is gonna make them beat and get first place. So for them, I get it. They do a lot of volume. And I was competing in bodybuilding, so it kind of made sense. I wanted to leave nothing behind. But the reality is that I'm a dad, I'm running a business. I can't always sleep. I can't always be on top of my diet. And having high volume is in that atmosphere is sort of just a bad recipe because you can overtrain, and so I somehow was surviving it. And my friends, John and Chris, I call the Haram Bros, we have this chat that's been going on for years. They've always been telling me like that I was been overtraining and that I should relax on it. And seeing and reading because you have these awesome emails you send out, very detailed with a lot of information. I really like that the minimum effective dose thing that you talk about. It really resonated with me and it pulled me back to go back to the training that I was doing before I got into bodybuilding. And, and leaving bodybuilding it's like it's a multifaceted choice, like why I left bodybuilding. It was this idea. I feel like the culture around getting on stage and showcasing your body, being super low body fat, it's not about health, which is why I came into this in the first place. It was about being healthy, being strong. It wasn't about just having ripping muscles and being 8% body fat. That's not why I got into this. And I was losing sight of that with all the with getting into bodybuilding. Because I mean, frankly speaking, like being super shredded and the bodybuilding adventure was helping sales. Like people were like looking at me thinking that's healthy. And I think it was doing, it's just not the image I wanted to put out there. So you can look really great as you're a prime example of this. You can look really great, be really fit, be functionally fit, feel good all the time. And it doesn't require looking like, a bodybuilder on stage where all their veins are showing all the time. So, which is just not, it's not healthy. It's like they're dehydrated too. I mean, that's a big one. Like, in order to get your skin that tight, you gotta be dehydrated, which is, like, it's not good for your body to be dehydrated. So, it's a sport,
Well,
I respect it. I don't wanna talk badly about the sport. I respect it, I respect the process and everything, but it's just not what I want, it's not why I got into this. It's not what I wanna be selling. I don't wanna be selling that. I wanna sell health.
Well, I love that, and that's very honest of you, and I would be lying if I said I didn't get into training for bodybuilding reasons. I think when I got into strength training, it was in high school because I played football, but going into college, I wanted to get jacked and shredded, but now I look back and it was kind of more of a mix of powerlifting and bodybuilding. And bodybuilding sells because I think that's a lot of people's goals that they want to look better. But what I try and educate people on is that if you're doing your strength training specifically, you are going to be building really solid muscle. And if someone's program were only four exercises, like a horizontal press, a vertical press, a squat, and a deadlift, you'd make amazing progress because those are the main exercises that you would use to build muscle in the first place. And that's really where that minimum effective dose template comes in. If you're pressed for time, you just do your main exercises. If you have an extra 15 minutes, you can throw in some accessory exercises. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it gives you a lot of latitude to know these are my minimums. And if I want to be a maximalist on a certain day because I feel really good or got good sleep, you can do that too. And another thing I've loved about training with Harambe System is I'm a big fan of self limiting exercises. And a self limiting exercise is kind of something like if you were only choosing to do a deadlift without a belt or without straps, how much can you actually lift without using wraps? Now, this
Mhm.
exercise has become self limiting in a very positive way where you have to build yourself up from a certain position instead of jumping into something you think you should be doing, which can result in injury or central nervous system fatigue. And for me, what I like about Harambe System in my particular workouts that I do, and it's all by feel for me. I kind of have an idea of what I like to do, but I pick one band load that I know is good for me on the military press, on the chest press, and I see how that band is feeling for that day. And what I love about the bands is they meet you where you're at. So maybe you're a little bit slower, it's going to feel heavier, you can drop the volume. If the band and the bar are flying up and you feel really explosive, that's the time where you might add another band and you might lift a little bit harder. So
Hmm.
kinda getting away from the bodybuilding stuff and getting more into sustainable training, I think it's a very valuable tool for that reason because it meets you where you're at. You can do these MED style training sessions, and you can run a program for as long as you want before making any changes. And I guarantee someone's gonna be building quality muscle without affecting their joints like some of this high volume approach has given people in the past. So that's my take on it, and I'm very impressed, and a lot of my clients who've been doing this stuff with me, they've had very good results, and they've actually been surprised how difficult training with the bands is because they thought it was gonna be easy, but it's not easy. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's harder than it looks. Another question for you, is there anything besides the high volume that you have stopped doing training with Harambe System? And if so, why have you stopped that?
No, I think it's the high volume that's the primary thing. I mean, I don't use a lifting belt anymore. I've stopped doing that. I didn't like how it was making my lifts feel, sort of
Mhm,
squeezing my, and I feel like I just never really knew how to use it that well. And I
mhm,
actually surprised myself because I never really, I used it as more of like a cue than actually using it, I think, the way you're supposed to. So I surprised myself. I just stopped using it and just followed the same cues and I was able to lift the same weight. So I guess I was never really relying that much on it. So I stopped using that. That was something that I stopped. But everything else I haven't really stopped. Yeah, nothing else. It's really just the high volume. I reduced my volume considerably. I was following a program that was optimal in the sense that it cycled not according to weeks. Like I was following some sort of odd cycling because I was trying to optimize my recovery. But then I realized that just ignoring the fact that I have kids and a job and everything like that, my body's working on a weekly schedule because my kids go to school and they're here on the weekends. Like weekends are not, you know, when you have kids, weekends aren't yours anymore. They're not really time off anymore. Weekend warrior really isn't a thing when you have kids. So
mhm.
I now and this was something that happened around the same time when I cut the volume. I was like, I have to have a schedule that's weekly, and this is what I had before I started the bodybuilding thing because I was like the bodybuilding thing really took over my life for a while. So I was really just prioritizing just building muscle. And it's funny because I did actually doing that, I have to give credit where credit's due. Like I did substantially grow my legs. Like my legs used to be a weak point, sort of my quads and stuff, but I grew them to where they weren't a weak point anymore. And although, it's funny because I'm not sure if I did that with all the volume, because my training days would go like this. I would do hard, heavy back squats, and then I would do moderate heavy, I think it was Bulgarian split squats is what I would do next, and then I would do front squats. But at that point, like, I was just dead. Like, I was just going through the movements. I wasn't hitting PRs anymore. I wasn't doing anything. I think I was just piling on volume for the sake of piling on volume. And I think I could have gotten the same results if I just didn't do any of the extra stuff. All I did was, like, the really heavy, back squats at the beginning. They were heavy for me. It was like, 8 to 10 reps or something. I just do those, really go all out, like, build on those. I think I would have gotten similar results, maybe not as optimal. I mean, I know this because in the past I did low volume work and I didn't have the CyberPlate. So the CyberPlate's really great because it actually works very well with heavy resistance. When you stack bands, the forces add up the way you'd think. Whereas like with other platforms, because of the friction and everything, that didn't happen anymore. It does to an extent with smaller bands, but then when you get heavier, it really becomes an issue. Like it's very hard to progress if you don't have the CyberPlate with resistance bands with heavy weights, which you need your legs. The thing is, you can't get around it. Your legs are big muscles. They need a lot of force to be stressed. Like you're not going to. It's going to be very hard, I imagine, to like build significant muscle if all you have is like 60 pounds, on your legs. Because the legs can. I mean, maybe there's some way to mentally do a whole bunch of reps, and build it, which I wouldn't say is impossible, but I'm sure it's happened. But I just don't have mental fortitude for that. But then that's getting into this, like, you have to spend all day doing reps. Like, that's just not feasible for someone. I'm running a company. I have a family, I have kids. Like, I can't just do that. And I can't just be dead all the time. I can't just be constantly recovering from I can't have a leg day and then be out for 2 days and just have to put my legs up. No, I have to carry my kids everywhere. My kids are like heavy. Sometimes I have to carry them both at the same time, like, because they don't they just want to be carried, and that's the life I want to live. I want to be a father. I want to be present. I don't want to be like just dead all the time, which when I was training for the bodybuilding thing and doing high volume, I was just fatigued all the time. And by the time I was feeling okay from the fatigue, I was training again. It was just insane. It was just like constant beating yourself up like all the time, feeling, and I got, but it built my legs. So there's something to that. But I would rather just have gotten 80% of what I did doing 50% of the effort, and then being present, for my family and to live my life. That's all I have. That's my thing there. So those
Well,
are the things that changed.
okay. Well, it's a very good answer because I think a lot of people will look at these professional bodybuilders' plans, but they forget to realize that they're professional athletes and that's all that they do. And I know in my job, I mean, all of my clients are, they're older, they have jobs, they have kids, they have responsibilities. So it's all about kind of eking out what gains we can get that are sustainable. And I know
Yeah.
if I give my client a leg day and then they're sore for 10 days afterward, everything is going to suffer and it just doesn't make a lot of sense. And I think maturity is a big part here. And it sounds like you did exactly what you needed to do with that. So thanks for telling us about your training. I thought that was really fun for me to hear, kind of like those ins and outs. But let's talk a little bit about, we talked about the hardware. Now let's talk about the software. What was the main reason that you wanted to create an application for, I guess it's for more than Harambe system users, it's for everyone who wants to intelligently track their training. What's the impetus behind Harambe.fit?
That's a good question. So what is Harambe.fit? So it's this app which you can access at harambefit.com and it can install on your phone. For US users right now, there is an app on the App Store you can get, but due to App Store restrictions, it's only available in the United States for now. But it's this app where you record all your workouts and it has workout programs. You can make your own workout programs. You can see other people's workout programs. You can if you're a paid subscriber, you can even do other people's workouts. So if you see someone do a workout and you're like, wow, that's awesome, I want to do that. You can just like press this do this button and do their workout and it shows you what they did. And you can just go through and do the workout. So in a sense, it's a workout tracker. It also has a diet component to it. So there are diet templates that you can use and you can track your diet. It has a lot of features in that front. Like you can even, when you're logging a meal, instead of just typing, putting in all the ingredients and macros, you can just type in a description of your meal and just be like, I ate a burger with 2 patties and extra mayo, and it uses AI and will automatically come up with all the macros for you. Or you can take a picture of it and it'll come up with the macros for you. So it's like it has a lot of features to make tracking easier. But sort of what makes this app very different from other apps, is that if you opt into it, it has this AI component that analyzes everything that you're doing and gives you tips on how, like, there's these insights that appear every day. It's not, the idea isn't that the AI is your coach. It's more that it's this training partner that tells you about trends. So it'll tell you things like, your protein was over 180 for the last 3 weeks. You actually made the best progress over the last 6 months, like during those weeks when your protein was higher. Like, it'll just point these things out to you, which I think is very helpful. It'll also point things like saying, you've been lagging on curls, and I've noticed that your curls have very low volume. It'll tell you things like that. So there's these insights that can be somewhat helpful on the front page. It gives you these 3 insights you see every day, like telling you how things are going. It also will try to make you feel good about, like, following your own plan that you make up, like if you're consistent. And then there's this streak thing where if you're not consistently posting, your number goes up and you win these badges. So there's this like gamification to get people more motivated to work out. And it also but there's more to the AI than just those insights that appear that tell you these insights. As you're doing a workout, there are these little tips that appear that will tell you things like, over the last 3 times you did this, your reps were above the range. Like, so, and then it gives you suggestions on what to do. It's like you can either slow your cadence down. It'll tend to want to do that depending on how your recovery signals are. It'll tell you, push to a higher resistance, like go up in bands. It also works with barbells. So it'll tell you if you're doing barbell work, say go up in weight. So it like gives you these suggestions based on your big picture. So it tries to give you a big picture of what's going on so you can make more informed choices about, instead of sort of, what's really been helping me is my ego gets in the way of my training a lot. So I keep, like, lately I got really sick lately. I had something called the neurovirus, and it just floored me. I lost like 20 pounds or something. I don't know. I lost like a lot of weight. I came out like looking totally different after I had it. I was in the hospital for a few days, and it literally, like, for some reason, my stomach was it just wouldn't pass food or water. So I wasn't able to eat for like 3 days, and I was just bedridden the whole time. And that makes you drop muscle so fast. So I lost so much strength. Like I can't deadlift. Like when I got out, like there was no way. I tried. I couldn't even budge blue Kong anymore. So I had to like build myself back up. And I'm slowly getting back to the strength that I was back then. But I'm very tempted to just like put blue Kong on and just go all out. But I'm instead taking it slow. I'm building back up, following the AI prompts recommendations for when to go up in resistance. And it's conservative, which is good. I need that. And it's been working really well. It's been awesome. Like, and it it's really, sometimes it tells me, it's like, you've been sleeping really well. It also has like sleep tracking and everything. It's telling me, you've been sleeping well, the markers are great. Now it's time to go up a little bit. And if you feel like it. And I try
Right.
it, and I really do. And it tells me even like what it thinks I'm going to get for my reps, and it tends to nail it. So those like little tips that happen in the workout are just, that's been really great. I've been loving that. Mostly because it just remembers all the stuff about me that I don't remember. So it's just very nice to see that. And then there's also the social component, which really differentiates the app. And the app itself, also, I should say, it's free. The AI features are not free because, the it costs money to use AI. So the AI features they're just not free. But there is like doing workouts, the social component, getting your workouts posted, connecting with other people in gyms. They're called like jungle gyms. You can join the jungle gyms, and that's all free. Uh, it's like bringing people together, so they post workouts. Yeah, so the big reason to make that also was to bring people together so they could, give the people a platform for posting their workouts and also share their workouts. Also for me, a lot of people ask me sort of what workout program am I following? And the app's like an easy, a way for them to see what I've done. It has, there's free workout programming on it called Gorilla Gains, which is a very minimalist volume workout program, which I started with, and it builds up over time. It has 2 phases to it. So it's sort of I think it's like 16-week schedule. What you do after that is up to you, but it has like the 16-week schedule, which is Nice. So it's a nice way to share what I do, and people can just follow those workouts, and they can also see what my diet is because my diet's on there. Yeah.
As someone
Yeah.
who has been using Harambe.fit for, well, since it came out, I have loved the accountability on that. It's something where I do not want to break my streak. I think I'm only at like 35 on my streak right now, but I enjoy getting the badges. That's a lot of fun. I think I can't remember. I was an alpha silverback and I think I'm at the next badge right now. So it's kind of fun to do
Oh,
that.
wow.
Yeah, and you can do your likes and like your hearts and stuff, but we do bananas on Harambe
Yeah,
Fit,
the
and that
bananas.
the banana's really fun, and it's cool to see, "Oh, I got 47 bananas for this workout," and then I go on my feed and I give everyone else bananas for a job well done. And the other cool thing is that you are able to do posts now in Harambe Fit and add your training videos. So that adds a whole new dimension where it's kind of like, well, do I even need to post on the other social media websites because my community is here? It's been a lot of fun. So I think you nailed it on Harambe Fit, and I encourage everyone to check that out. But I do like
Thank
the
you.
AI features, so I think you should upgrade to Pro. I want to talk a little bit about some of the questions that I got from our Facebook group if you have some good answers to these. Now, I took these directly from the group, so they are verbatim. You can answer long or short, totally up to you, Khalid. Where do you see Harambe system in 5 to 10 years?
Oh, wow. That's I have no idea. 5 years ago, Harambe System didn't exist, I think. I think maybe it's 6 years old now. I don't know off the top of my head, but, yeah, it just started, and it was just a bar back then. So 5, 10 years, I have no idea. I mean, I
Okay.
definitely see I love this company, I love the community. I see myself still fighting. It's not I s I s it's still this is still a small company. It's not I don't feel like Harambe System has made it in any sense of the word. Like, I'm still just working it really hard all the time. Every sale I get is just a ton of work, because I have to put the word out there, get people to see it. Like, getting people to work out is not easy.
True,
It's
true.
definitely not it's not easy, and people don't wanna they don't wanna hear that it's not easy, and I'm honest. People ask me like, "Can I do this?" And I was like, "Well, it depends. Like, are you willing to put in the work? Are you going to be consistent?" Like, I didn't get here because I found some trick. Like, it was really honest, like, hard work. Like, it just took a lot of work. It doesn't matter what you pick, resistance bands, weights, calisthenics, like, you gotta put the work. You're not gonna get this is not something where you just, take a pill or something and it fixes it for you. It's just that's not how it works.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. So it's interesting because with Harambe system, I know a lot of these things in the fitness space are a slow drip. And since I started posting my own content using the Harambe system and all the accessories, I have had people reach out to me and it takes time. It'll be 6 months, 9 months, sometimes a year later, but they've been interested in it for a while. And just seeing our Facebook group and some of the monsters that have come into the group recently with these huge lifts, big dudes,
Oh my god.
former bodybuilder, it's like, I think it's growing faster than maybe we're giving it credit to because I've seen a lot of new people posting their content and having a lot of fun on the app. So I think that's very positive.
It's great. I mean, I am very, very happy with the community that we've built and the growth. I mean, definitely the company's come a long way, and Um, and the connections I've made connecting with you has been amazing. I'm very grateful that to have met you and to be in touch with you all the time is fantastic. Yeah, it's definitely grown a lot. I think in 5 years, I think I still feel like we're just starting. I think in 5 years, the app will have a lot more. I mean, we just hit over 1,000 users this week on Harambe Fit, which is awesome. It just feels, yeah. I mean, it was literally like 4 weeks ago or something where it was just I was the only user there. And then now it's over 1,000. It's still growing. It's growing consistently, which is fantastic. I mean, I hope in 5 years it'll be much bigger and people will know more about it. And, Harambe Fit is more, people think of Harambe System. I think it'll be more than just a resistance band company. I think that it'll be a force that brings people together. And that's my dream. To not just be a resistance band company, but to be a company that's trusted, a company that brings people together. um, that's what I hope to see. I don't plan to stop selling resistance band equipment and innovating there. So I still see that as being a core component, but also I want to be known for other things, hopefully.
Well, That's a great answer. Very, very good answer. And it leads me to my next question. This is probably the biggest question that we got from our users. And that is wondering if there are any upcoming innovations or products that you can let us know.
I mean, definitely one that a lot of people have been asking about is the travel version of the CyberPlate. And I know that there's some demand there. The main reason why it doesn't exist right now is because, and I know there's some people that really love the travel plate. The thing is that when I had it, it just didn't sell well. Like people bought the bigger one. And as a
Mhm.
small company, it is very hard to hold different options just from the manufacturer. Like you have to put them somewhere. And then if you have stock that doesn't sell, for a long time, it's expensive. So, I had to make this choice. And the cyber plates are very expensive to make. So, I mean, way more expensive than all the other platforms. And the pricing reflects that. But of course, to make something that expensive, it takes a big investment. I think there's a reason why no one has ever made roller platforms before. I think there's also all these engineering hurdles that I had to come up to get over. But also, they're just expensive, and to make them the way that I want, which is like I didn't wanna use, like, plastics, as, like I didn't wanna use cheap components. I use, like, very high quality components, so it's just all around an expensive I mean, if you think about it, like, the UHMW PE platforms, when they first came out were I mean, there was a time when they cost $400, like, just the UHMW platforms. Harambe System made some efforts to bring that price down. Like, I came up with manufacturing tricks to reduce the pricing of that. So we were selling platforms in the $200 range, which goes to show that, like, I'm not just trying to make the most expensive thing out there. That's not like I'm not trying to price people out. But these roller platforms, I mean, if you think about it, you're selling a bar. A bar is like a with has rollers at the end. It's like an Olympic barbell, stainless steel can cost like, $200 to $500, like a high quality Olympic barbell. And it just has two spinning pieces at the end. The CyberPlate has 12 spinning pieces. It has like all these little things. There's 12 of them. And not only that, a barbell is like a commodity at this point. Like everybody knows how to make them. There's machines for making them and everything. The CyberPlate is like its own unique thing. Like no one's ever made it before. All the pieces are custom made. Like if you hire someone to make the CyberPlate for you, like someone that can do all this stuff, it would cost like thousands of dollars. Like it's very hard to make. But that's what happens. You make something new, it's very expensive to make. And we're a small company. It's not like I can make a huge factory for making cyber plates. I can't, like when people make cars are very complicated, of course, but they have huge factories that are made and they have millions of dollars to do this. Harambe System's a small company. I don't have millions of dollars to throw into making a factory to like pump out cyber plates. Like honestly, I don't sell that. I don't sell enough to justify that even. So, like, we're a small niche company, and I think people don't realize that. Like they look at the website, they look at the app, they look at the quality, and I have an art background. Like originally, before I did math, I did art, and I care a lot about details. And you see this in the product. Like I definitely every detail in the product, every detail on the website. Like I pour over these little details to make everything look good. And I think for a small company to have that kind of precision is kind of rare. So people think it's a big company. So like it's funny because I remember once I had the advertising team for Nike reach out to me and they were like, they were showcasing their work to me. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. Can you make some commercials for me? Because I would love that. And then they sent me the price. I was like, oh my God. It's like I cannot, I can't spend $300,000 on a video. That's like I just got that's insane. Like, this was at the beginning too, because, like, when I first came out with the web, it, like, looked very our stuff looks good. I do my best because to make things look good, and I care about detail. And I think, like, the product is there. The product does there's a reason why people like it, but but yeah, they forget that it's a small company. I'm there doing customer service. Like, I'm the one I have my hand in everything, because it's a small company. It's not a we're not Nike. So and that's the reason why we don't have like the smaller platform yet. And I'm not sure when that'll happen because it's going to take a lot of investment and money to come out with these new products and R&D. So in terms of like brand new products, I'm going to be focusing on our core products and making them better if I can. That's like always been my main thing, to try to bring the price down, make things more affordable. Those are my like that's my those are my biggest priorities, to try to make things more affordable so that I can reach more people and to improve the product that we have. Like I'm always trying to improve it. So the travel version of the platform is on the back burner for now until it comes out, but that's definitely there. And so for the next year or two, my focus is on trying to reduce pricing if I can. I'm just doing my best. It's been hard with tariffs and what's going on in the world. Like it seems like everything is fighting. Like if you look at the history of Harambe System, like when I first came out with the solid platforms, I did a lot of work and I brought the price down. And I've been working so hard on the CyberPlate to bring the price down, but like I feel like globally there's these things happening and they keep like thank goodness I'm able to bring the price down because otherwise I would have to just and I have had to raise pricing. Like it's sort of the opposite effects happening. Like it's just getting everything keeps getting more and more expensive. So no matter how hard I try to reduce manufacturing costs, like the world is just like fighting me.
Well, totally understood, but I do have to say I'm very excited about the 34-inch bands that are coming out shortly. I pre-ordered mine, and I know
Oh
a
yeah.
bunch of other people did too, so that'll be fun to experiment with, and I'm looking forward to some new gains and some new tension with those. So, makes sense. I mean, it makes sense economically. You can't do everything that you want to all the time, so I'm satisfied with that answer. Another quick one. Do you think that variable resistance is underutilized?
Huh. I, honestly, I'm not sure because I think any resistance is underutilized. I think not enough
Okay.
people resistance train. I think that there is this amazing opportunity for people that find free weights don't work for them for some reason, like because it hurts their joints or, because they have pain in their muscle. I think it's called fibromyalgia. There is this opportunity for people like that to use resistance bands and they can substantially like they could build muscle when it was too painful for them before. I think that I'm, like, constantly told because I have customers that have that have, like, arthritis or something or fibromyalgia, and they use resistance bands, and they find that resistance bands are something that they can use, and they write me, and they tell me, like, "Oh, why don't you just make all your ads about, like, arthritis and fibromyalgia and everything?" And, the main reason for that is because, like, I don't wanna be giving medical advice. Like, there's this, like, scary thing, like, I don't want to I'm a mathematician, I'm not a doctor, so I don't wanna be giving medical advice. But
Smart.
I feel like there's something there, and I'm not so maybe it's possible there it's underutilized, but I honestly just don't know.
Okay. Well, I'm satisfied with that too. It has been around longer than people think. If you go to a physical therapy office, you probably put one of those mini bands around your knees.
Oh, yeah.
So people have been using bands, even though they're maybe reluctant to do something like Harambe system. And I know personally, I warm up my shoulders and do my shoulder prehab exercises with crossover symmetry. Those are bands. And then the most famous example is probably West Side Barbell and their use of bands on their conjugate method in dynamic day. So bands are
Oh, yeah.
actually nothing new. I think people are just afraid of change, and it's gonna be getting more popular over time. We're almost toward the end here, Khaled. I wanna do some rapid fire questions, and these can be one-word answer. You can elaborate if you'd like to, but let's jump into that. What is your favorite strength training movement?
Deadlift.
Okay, good answer. I think that's the best one on Harambe system, personally. Okay, what's the most underrated exercise?
Bench press. I feel like
Okay.
I don't know, people seem to think that bench press with resistance bands is, like, their least favorite movement a lot of the time, but I love it. I don't know, the strength that it gives me to be able to move my body on the ground, yeah, it's really great. And I also like doing, heavy bench presses with the Harambe system, like, I can sometimes I have my kids, like, get on my back, and I can just, like, push them and it's, like, so fun, I, like, push them up and, like, walk around with them, and so it gives me this strength that it's funny because people go like, "What are you gonna do? Like, why is this movement so important?" But it lets me, like, crawl around with my kids. I don't know. I feel like I'm
Well,
not saying it's the best movement or anything, but
but remember, from a personal trainer's perspective, the bench press is probably the singular exercise that puts the most muscle and strength onto someone's upper body. So I'll say it is an
uh,
important movement if you like pressing. Yeah, that's why
oh, so
they kind of
maybe
that's why
maybe
football players
I
do
shouldn't
it.
have picked that one. I
No,
shouldn't have
no,
picked that one.
it's definitely a good exercise. Okay, another one. What mistake do people make with bands?
Oh, they, I think there's like they jerk a lot. So I get this. Some people say, "Oh, I've been lifting with bands for like." They usually use a small amount of time, which is really not a good rubric for anything. But maybe 5 weeks, and they go, "I don't really feel it in the muscle. I don't like. I'm not sore. Blah blah blah." And then they send me a video, and then I see how they're lifting, and they're just sort of jerking around a lot. Sort of they would like one thing they would go way too many bands on there, but they would when they were pressing, they would go like this. They wouldn't
Mm,
be smooth movements and they're
uh-huh.
using something that's too heavy for them. Like if they used a band that was something they could actually push, then they could be smooth with it. But they're doing this jerking thing. And the thing with resistance bands is if you jerk, the way the physics works, it actually like, just completely nullifies the resistance. You don't get any resistance when you're jerking.
Mm.
It's sort of a funny phenomenon. Like you jerk it, it's like you're not getting the same. It's like feeling force here and there all at once. It doesn't.
Oh,
You don't
yeah.
feel force throughout the whole thing.
I know what you're talking about, and maybe a good name for that is hitching because people will hitch their
Oh
deadlifts
yeah.
as well. Yeah, it's called hitching, and in some leagues, it's
Oh.
illegal to do hitching. In some leagues, you can do hitching, but that makes sense. What I wanted to add to that, because I think that's a really good
Mm.
point, is what variable resistance and Harambe system have taught me is such a deep mind muscle connection to stay connected to the platform, to the band, and then into the extremities. I don't think I've ever had as good of a mind muscle connection. And some of the bands I use for exercises are much lighter than I could go, but it's the perfect point of finding that mind muscle connection. And as soon as I focused on that in my journey with this, that's when I finally started to feel the movements in the proper muscle groups. And I just thought that'd be important to add because I don't think a lot of
Oh
people
yeah.
structure their training on mind muscle connection when in fact if you did that from the beginning you would have felt it in the proper muscle groups or the force couple of muscle groups. So yeah, I think that's
Wow.
pretty cool. It's some nuanced stuff there.
I mean, that
Okay.
means a lot coming from you.
Oh yeah, I mean, man, you've helped me just as much as I've helped you, so I appreciate it too. Okay, now if you had to summarize your training philosophy in one sentence, what would it be? This is a tough one, I know.
Some days you just don't feel like working out, but you really should if there's no, good reason not to choose working out. I think that's what it is. Yeah. Do it for your family, do it for your friends. It's not just you. It that's benefiting from this. It's everyone around you. So I think that's because I work out all the time and I run the company and everything and I don't want to make other people feel bad or anything. But if you tend to look at like people that run companies, they tend to not really be that in shape generally because it's so stressful. I don't know. It's very stressful. There's just like you're putting fires out all the time. And there's just all the things you have to be doing. You have to wear all these hats. There's like very little time. And, that's people who own companies. But I mean, any job is hard and stressful. And it's definitely days where I just don't want to work out. It's hard. It takes work. I got to like go over there, stretch bands and be what I did last time. It takes work. And, there's some days where I'm just like, I'm loving it and it feels great to be alive and I'm like destroying my previous numbers. A lot of times I'm not, I'm just sort of making very small progress. But what keeps me going is thinking about not letting my family down, not letting my friends down. Cause like being healthy and fit, it really affects everyone around you, not just you.
Well, that's good. At Strong First, we say that strength has a greater purpose, and I think you just exemplified that. It's not just a vain pursuit, but it showcases to other people what they can be capable of also. So,
Yeah.
really good answer. And Khalid, just finishing up, besides HarambeSystem.com and Harambe.fit, my favorite training app, where can people learn more about you?
I think those are the best places. I do have a personal Instagram. If people want to, I post things on there every now and then. But Harambe.fit, Harambefit.com, like on the app, I post every day. So that's probably the best place. Yeah.
Well, that
I'm
sounds
glad
good
you
to me.
asked.
Yeah, of course. And also, guys, if you are a Harambe system user, definitely check out the Facebook group. That's one of my favorite groups on all of social media.
Oh,
And
yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that's where
That,
a
that
lot
group
of
is amazing. I forgot.
amazing group. Yep, you can get any question answered there. You can get forum checks. You can really get whatever you need. I know I'm willing to help anyone out. And then you have John and Chris and all the other guys, the OGs who are really helpful. But Khaled, I appreciate your time. And it's been a pleasure to interview you and hear about your backstory and some of the innovations to come, hear about your programming. It's been really special for me. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, John. Really appreciate your time.
Of course. And we'll do it again sometime. And hopefully
Great.
we'll meet in person one day. That'd be the goal.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, we'll do it eventually. Well, guys, this is the axis method. And remember, strength isn't just about lifting heavier weights. It's about building a body that performs, adapts, and lasts for decades. Bye, bro.